There's a story I want to tell you tonight, but it's not just from one person. It was sent to us by 3 different people: Jason, Rachel, and Tyler. 3 strangers, same story, same horrifying ending. We verified it, and what we found was too real, too disturbing to ignore. So now, we're sharing it. But before we begin, let me tell you something personal. There was a time when my YouTube channel connected me to over 2 million hearts. I gave voice to silence and turned shadows into stories. Then one day, the people I trusted most stabbed me in the back. They took everything: my name, my identity, my channel. Gone overnight. But stories don't die. They whisper. And so, I'm back. This time, under a new name, but with the same fire, same scars, same truth. Welcome to Whispers by Aki, where silence screams and every story bleeds. Here, you'll hear the voices they tried to bury, the secrets no one dares to speak, and the whispers that never stopped. Subscribe, because now it's your turn to listen. I once owned a charming little house I listed on Airbnb. For several years it worked well for us. Eventually, though, I had to stop. The stress of juggling it with my full-time job became overwhelming. Airbnb had its perks. Compared to traditional long-term renting, you could earn more, especially in vacation-heavy areas. Ours was one of those places. At first, my wife and I were thrilled by the extra income. But as the bookings piled up, so did the pressure. The cleaning had to be perfect. Timing was crucial. We coordinated services between guests, answered questions constantly, and stayed on call for anything. For a while, we handled it. Everything went smooth. Until then. It was supposed to be a simple stay, a young couple in for one night. As usual, I sent the door code once they checked in. We rarely interacted with guests directly. Most of the time, it was just a couple of texts. Here now. Everything's good. Sometimes a question. But that night, around 9 p.m., I got a message. Calling you in a minute. Then the phone rang. A voice, polite, male, said, "There's no water." I blinked. No water? I apologized immediately. That kind of issue was unacceptable. I told him I'd come by to investigate and get repairs going if needed. He agreed. Courteous. Maybe too courteous. When I pulled up to the house, something caught my eye. 2 cars in the driveway. They were supposed to be a couple. For one night. Why bring 2 cars? Maybe friends had dropped by. Technically, that wasn't allowed, but I let it slide. Too tired to care. I knocked on the door. No response. I used the access code and stepped inside. Silence. The house was undisturbed. No visible signs of anyone. I should have checked every room. I should have looked for them. But I was exhausted. My only thought was, fix the issue, go home. I made my way to the basement. That's where the main water valve was. No flooding, no busted pipe. Everything looked fine. Then I turned the valve. Suddenly, the pipes groaned and water started flowing. It had been manually shut off. Why? Why would anyone do that? I stood there dumbfounded, trying to make sense of it. A chill ran up my spine. We hadn't seen our guests at all. If they had turned off the water, was it just a trick to get me there? A scam for a free night? Still unsettled, I decided to leave. I'd call them again, just in case. But as I reached the stairs to go back up, I heard the basement door creak open. Then, footsteps. Multiple. They echoed down the stairs, deliberate, heavy. 3 men emerged from the shadows. One of them spoke. "Is it fixed?" It was the same as the call. But this man, he wasn't young. None of them were. They looked older, weathered,
The kind of faces that told stories without words. The kind you didn't want stories from. I answered as calmly as I could. Yeah, just a valve issue. It's working now. They stared. Didn't say a word. I forced a smile. Let me know if you need anything else. I moved past them toward the stairs. Then as I passed the last man, I saw it. A gun, tucked into the back of his waistband. My breath caught. My body went rigid. My heart nearly stopped. I kept walking, faster. But they didn't stop me. They didn't follow. They just stood there, in the basement. I got into my car and drove home, fast. My hands trembling on the wheel. The moment I walked in, I wrote my wife. Told her everything. We didn't hesitate. Call the police. 20 minutes later, an officer called. He knocked. No answer. I gave him the door code. Another 20 minutes passed. He called again. Said the house was empty. No one was there.
Next morning, we got the full picture. The credit card used, stolen, our house, stripped, decorations, small appliances, even some artwork, vanished. There had never been a young couple, just 3 men. But here's the part that still keeps me up at night. Why lure me there? Why not do anything? I was alone, in the basement, with 3 armed strangers. They had me, but they let me walk out. Why? What were they really planning? After that, I made a new rule. Never, ever visit the house while guests are still inside. A few months later, we shut the Airbnb down for good. We switched to long-term renting. Fewer risks, fewer unknowns. Because some guests, they don't just lie. They don't just steal. Some, you never figure out what they really wanted. Last year, I took a solo trip to Salt Lake City. I'd never really traveled much before, and when I did, it was always with family. This was different. My first trip, just for me. And maybe it sounds odd, but I like being alone. Mostly because I rarely get the chance to be. I spent hours scrolling through hotels and Airbnbs. To my surprise, Airbnbs were not only cheaper, they were nicer, more personal. The only downside? The affordable ones were outside the city, a little remote. But I had a car. The extra drive didn't bother me. I chose a small Airbnb, nothing fancy, but clean. A neat bedroom, a tidy kitchen. That's all I needed. I arrived early, 6 in the morning on a Sunday. The owner had already messaged me the code. I unlocked the door, stepped inside, and brought in my things. The place was cozy, warm, better than the cramped apartment I shared back home. I unpacked, sank into the couch, and turned on the TV. I'd just finished a 10-hour drive. All I wanted was to rest. Sleep came fast, but it wasn't deep. By 10 p.m. I stirred awake. The TV was still flickering. I grabbed the remote, shut it off, and stood up. I needed water, just a quick drink. But as I walked into the hallway, I felt it. A sudden cold breeze. It stopped me. Still half asleep, I looked around. And that's when I saw it. The front door, wide open. My chest tightened. I stood there, frozen. I knew without a doubt I had locked that door. I remember turning the bolt, feeling the click. Something was wrong. I walked forward slowly and shut the door, carefully. My ears strained, listening. No sounds, no movement. But I couldn't shake the feeling. I wasn't alone. I grabbed a kitchen knife. Quietly, room by room, I searched the house. Bathroom, closet, kitchen, under beds. Nothing, no one. And somehow, that made it worse. I sent a message to the homeowner, asked if anyone else had access, told him what happened. It was late. I didn't expect a reply, so I locked everything. The front door, back door, windows. Checked every single one. Still nothing.
I was tired but alert, restless. Eventually, I went to bed. Told myself it was a fluke, just a mistake. But then, I woke up to a sound. Not outside the house, outside my bedroom door. Footsteps. Not walking, standing, still, breathing, listening. I didn't move, not even an inch. My body stiff, my heart hammering in my chest. I could feel them there, right on the other side of the door, waiting. And in that moment, my mind latched onto the only explanation that made sense. The homeowner. Maybe he was some twisted guy. Maybe he enjoyed watching his guests sleep. The thought lit a fire in me. Anger replaced fear. I sat up, quietly. No sound. I reached toward the nightstand for my phone, planning to call the cops. But the moment I moved, the footsteps ran, fast, away from the door, across the house, toward the exit. Whoever it was, they had been standing outside my room for hours. While I slept, I called 911. By the time police arrived, the house was empty. No signs of forced entry, no footprints, nothing, just silence. I packed my things and left that night. Found a hotel downtown for the rest of my stay. The next day, the owner refunded everything. He was apologetic, shocked, said he'd never had issues before. Even proved he was across town, visiting his daughter. He was kind, genuine.
And that somehow made everything worse. Because now I knew the truth. It wasn't him. It was someone else. A stranger. A man I never saw. Someone who got in and stood there, watching me, walking around my room, listening to me breathe. I keep thinking back to when I first woke up, saw the door open, realized someone had already entered. They watched me on the couch while I slept. Then they waited. Waited in the dark, outside my bedroom, all night. But for what? That's the question that haunts me, and I think it always will. I was staying at a small 2-bedroom Airbnb during a vacation I took last year. This place wasn't even my main stop. It was just a resting point on the way to another Airbnb where I'd be spending the bulk of my trip. The house was clean and quiet, exactly what I expected. After walking around and checking out the rooms, I brought in my luggage and sat on the couch. It was probably around 8 p.m. by then. I started dozing off a little when suddenly the doorbell rang. It made me jolt upright, startled and confused. I'm a pretty small girl, young too, so yeah, I scare easily, especially when I'm alone at night. I stood up and walked toward the door, and that's when I heard it. 2 men, whispering, just on the other side. The door didn't have a safety lock, so I kept it shut tight and called out, "Hello?" A man responded, "Hey, we're here for the Airbnb. Can you open the door?" I blinked. What? I asked what he meant by that. I had the place booked. Why would someone else be showing up now? He told me he had the place reserved for the night too. There had to be some kind of mistake. I yelled back through the door that I had it booked as well. Told him he should contact the owner. He didn't sound thrilled by that. And honestly, I don't blame him. If I showed up to a place I paid for and someone else was inside, I'd be angry too. I heard one set of footsteps walk away from the door, but the other man stayed. He asked again if I could just open the door, that we could talk about it. I almost gave in. My hand was already on the doorknob. He sounded believable, polite even. But something in my gut told me not to open it. Instead, I said, "My husband will be down in a few minutes to sort this out." I wanted them to think I wasn't alone. That maybe, just maybe, it would make them rethink whatever they had planned. He didn't respond. I waited. No footsteps, no voices, just silence. I moved the curtain just slightly, just enough to peek out the small window beside the door. The man I'd been talking to was now facing his car. It was parked in the driveway. But behind him, there was a group, 5 people, standing farther back, almost hiding, as if waiting for a signal. They all had something covering their faces, and I couldn't see the other side of the house, but something told me there were more people over there too. My stomach dropped. They weren't here for an Airbnb. They were here for me. I backed away, completely terrified. I tried not to breathe too loudly, tried not to cry. I went into the bedroom to grab my phone and call the police. And that's when I heard them. Footsteps, all around, circling like a pack of wolves, waiting for the weakest moment to pounce. I ran to the bathroom with my phone and shut the door behind me. Then I dialed 911. The operator kept telling me to stay calm and be quiet. They were sending help. Just a few more minutes. I stayed on the line, and I could still hear them walking outside, everywhere. Then, snap! The horrible sound of wood breaking. They were forcing the door open. I pressed my hand over my mouth to muffle my sobs. I heard them come in, multiple people, in a gentle caverns, opening doors, loud, fast. Then, one of them walked up to the bathroom, tried the handle. Here, he shouted. But then, he walked away. He didn't try to force their way in. Instead, they just kept leading the place. Not long after, sirens. They scattered. Quickly. By the time the cops got in, the group was already gone. My luggage? Gone. My car? Smashed window. Robbed too. One of the officers stayed behind to talk to me. He told me there'd been a string of break-ins recently. Large groups, gangs mostly, targeting homes and rentals like Airbnbs. He said they usually don't hurt people unless they have to. Their goal is to rob fast and get out. That's probably why they left me alone once they realized someone was in the bathroom. Still, even if they didn't mean to hurt me, the terror, the feeling of being hunted, cornered, completely helpless, that was real. Maybe it had nothing to do with the Airbnb itself, but I haven't felt safe in one since. Every single time I stay in one now, I double-check the locks. I peek out every window. And I always lie and say someone is staying with me. Because that lie, that one little lie, saved my life. They stole my voice once, took my channel, tried to bury my stories. But fear doesn't die. It waits in the dark. And now, I'm back, with deeper wounds and louder whispers. This is Whispers by Aki, where silence screams. New nightmares every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. Subscribe and stay in the dark.